Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet. Yep, there's going to be a lot of news over the next week or so. So stay tuned because we're going to be getting into training camp, and then pretty quickly we get into roster cuts and see which of the PTOs result in a player actually getting a contract from the squad they're trying out for. So starting things off with the Vancouver Canucks with their presser, and a lot of teams having press conferences today. But Vancouver's, of course, is always watchable because it just usually is. There's usually some kind of an issue to talk about. Jim Rutherford says the Canucks are pretty happy with where they're at cap-wise right now. They're 1 to 2 contracts away from being really happy with where things are. So you have to think those are contracts that were signed by Jim Benning before they got here, and contracts that absolutely are likely hampering their ability to make the moves they'd like to. Myers' contract is one that stands out. They may mean Besser. They could mean Garland. We'll see what they do over the next 12 months. But it sounds like next summer they're looking forward to having that rise in cap, having some cap space, and being able to spend that to make their team better. Also saying they do intend to circle back with Pettersson. Pettersson very clearly has said he's fine with going into this season without a contract. And I get it. Like, why should Pettersson be concerned? I mean, the player shouldn't have any real concerns about signing a contract. The team should, because with a guy like Pettersson, odds are that asking price is just going to go up as the season goes along. So the longer he waits, the more money he's probably going to make. The Canucks have 1 season of control past this year with Pettersson, so he could just sign a 1 year deal and then move along. But as we've seen in other situations around the National Hockey League, when a restricted free agent has 1 year left before they go unrestricted, there's a lot more pressure on a team to make a move. Again, the player. There's no concern for them; they're going to get their money. It's really the pressure is on the team to sign that player. So retired players, Patrick Hornquist. Amongst the names for the Florida Panthers, a lot of promotions going on within the Florida organization today, but they bring in Hornquist, who retired this summer. He joins management as a scouting and development consultant. So it does feel like very often a former player's way into the organization is through the player development side of things, and then they can move their way up if they feel like it's for them. If they feel like it's not for them, they exit the organization that way. But it's nice to see him staying in Florida and them keeping him around once his career is done. And so, yeah, all the best to Patrick Hornquist in his new role with the team. Josh Norris in a non-contact jersey with Ottawa, but apparently there's no concern here. Just he apparently tweaked his shoulder something last week, skating around, and he just tweaked his shoulder. So it doesn't sound like it's anything major. Of course, for Ottawa to have a breakthrough season and get above the playoff line, they're going to need Norris to be healthy. They need Norris to get back to 30-goal form. And so the longer he's in a non-contact jersey, the more concern that may arise, but it sounds like it's not really a big deal. Of course, we have seen injuries over the last few years where it's no big deal, and then all of a sudden it is, so we'll see. So getting to the Winnipeg Jets now, the reason I'm wearing this jersey, Rick Bowness spoke to players over the summer. And so, of course, at the end of the season, he really ripped them a new one. He was not happy with the effort in the playoffs. He also hadn't been happy with their effort down the stretch to get to the playoffs. That was a playoff run that really, in all honesty, it didn't look like Winnipeg wanted that playoff spot, Nashville or Calgary. None of them were really playing that well down the stretch. Winnipeg gets that playoff spot, and then they were out in 5 games against the Vegas Golden Knights. And while I don't think anybody would have expected them to necessarily knock off Vegas, it was just the way they lost that I think really stuck with Bowness. So changes were made over the summer, and he reached out to players that are still Jets and says they all want to be here. There's no rift. There's no problems in the locker room. So this is good. This is good, and hopefully that is the case, remains the case. I would like to see Winnipeg stay above that playoff line and maybe do something come playoff time. Scheifele is penciled in to be the number 1 center. They're going to try Velarde on the right wing and Connor on the left wing on that line. Make that the top line. And so we'll see how that goes for them. Kupari is also penciled in as the 4th line center. So they have some idea of how things are going to go, and training camp of the preseason will decide whether or not that's going to work. But I do wish the Jets all the luck in the world because they definitely have been a team speculated upon throughout the summer as potentially losing Hellebuck, losing Scheifele. They, of course, got rid of Dubois. and they bought out Wheeler. So we'll see how things go for them this season. Columbus news, and it has nothing to do with coaching. Isn't that great? Olivier and Bean are both week to week with injuries that they're suffering from currently. More concerning with Bean than with Olivier. Of course, Bean missed a lot of time last year as well, so you want Bean to be healthy for them. Tarasov is day-to-day with a knee injury, so it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal. He shouldn't miss very much time, but again, with Columbus, goaltending was an issue last year. They don't want it to be an issue this year either, or as well. So we'll see how it goes for Tarasov and his recovery. And Marchenko is day-to-day with a strained back, which as soon as I saw that, I thought, is that from the weight of expectation or from carrying that offense through the last 2 months of the season? Somebody needs to tell him, don't worry about it. Columbus could absolutely rebound at least a little bit this year. Not all of it has to weigh on him. But at any rate, hopefully Marchenko and Tarasov aren't out for very long. Good news for Calgary fans as well. Shillington is listed on the team's training camp roster. He has not been with the team in quite some time. I like Shillington. I think he's a good defenseman. And so hopefully whatever kept him out of the lineup last year is not a problem anymore, and he's good to go. Because I like Shillington. I think he's a good defenseman. And for the Calgary Flames, a team known for having solid and deep defense overall, getting Shillington back in the fold, I think, is a net benefit. Interesting news involving the Colorado Avalanche. Saku Manalainen, who got a tryout from the Colorado Avalanche, failed the physical. So you get your physical, and if you fail that physical, that's the end of the tryout. It's not the first time we've seen this where a player goes to a tryout and they do the physical and they're like, no, we can't employ you at this time. So hopefully for Manalainen, whatever caused him to fail that physical gets straightened out. But for Colorado, they waste no time. So they release Manalainen from his tryout and they sign Brandon Kozun to a tryout instead. So he's also a forward. And so we'll see whether or not he earns himself a job. And as I've been saying recently, a lot of tryouts, a ton of tryouts. We're at an all-time high for tryouts in this flat cap world that we're in right now. A lot of guys that otherwise would have contracts don't. And so while we're still waiting on seeing where Phil Kessel's going to sign, and of course we still have 4 restricted free agents, it's not on the board, but according to Bruce Garriock, there's not much of a break between Pinto and the Senators in terms of contract, and there's a chance he gets signed. However, because of the lack of cap space that the Sens have currently, they're probably going to need to make other moves to make sure they're cap compliant for when they get Pinto signed and get him in the lineup. So, and when they get him in the lineup. But at any rate, there you go. Some more news. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.